You came down to this southern town last summer to show the folks a brand new way of life. But all you've shown the folks around here is trouble, and you've only added misery to their strife. Your concern is not to help the people, and I'll say again, though it's been often said, your concern is just to bring discomfort, my friend, and your policy is just a little red. Now ain't I right?
Ain't you right? Ain't you right?
It matters not to you how people suffer, and should they, you consider that a gain. You bring a lot of trouble to a town and then you leave. That's part of your communistic game. I detect a little communism. I can see it in the things you do. Communism, socialism, call it what you like. There's very little difference in the two. Now ain't I right?
Ain't you right? Ain't you right?
Your followers sometimes have been a bearded, bathless bunch. There's even been a minister or two, a priest, a nun, a rabbi, and an educated man have listened and been taken in by you. All the country's got some two-faced politicians who encourage you with words that go like this: burn your draft card if you like, it's good to disagree. That's a get acquainted communistic kiss. Now ain't I right?
Ain't you right? Ain't you right?
One politician said it would be nice to send some blood and help the enemy in Vietnam. That's what he says, here's what I say: let's just keep the blood. Instead, let's send that politician man. Let's rid the country of the politicians who coddle tramps that march out in our streets, protesting those who want to fight for freedom, my friend. This kind of leader makes our country weak. Now ain't I right?
Ain't you right? Ain't you right?
Let's look and find the strong and able leaders. It's time we found just how our neighbors stand. If we're to win this war with communism, let's fight it here as well as Vietnam. Let's rise as one and meet our obligations, so communistic boots will never trod across the fields of freedom that were given to us with the blessing of our great almighty God. Across the fields of freedom that were given to us with the blessing of our great almighty God.
Good morning, Patriots. Welcome to the premiere of the Ain't I Right YouTube channel webcast. I'm your host, Dementra, at Dementra1 on Twitter, and Equality is a False God, at Equality God on Twitter. So I recently did some decoding of my own on the recent new Q sightings that appeared on 8kun, which have now been posted on qmap.pub and other QAnon research index sites. But I want to start this off with this disclaimer. I'm not a professional YouTube streamer or decoder. I'm just a regular person who decided it was time to try and add my voice to this movement by showing others how they can expand their own understanding of the Q movement by simply using very easy decode strategies, as I'm going to show you here, that have been laid out by other very popular and renowned Anons on YouTube and other websites. And by using these strategies, I was able to come up with what I consider to be proof that the posts that we received on 8kun are legitimately Q. And at this point, I'm sure everyone has seen the links on Q post 3574, which have been now widely considered the primary proof that we are connected again to Q. The most prominent of which was to the post from 3 Days and 3 Nights on Twitter, which showed a picture of Q drop 3525 with the brackets at the bottom proving the 93 days dark or 93 days without Q since the last Q post we had on August 1st. From there, though, I would like to expand upon that proof and offer my own take on what I believe are other corroborating indicators to give additional credence to this message being Q, and I'm going to illustrate that in this video and show you the breadcrumb trail that I used by following the various timestamps. But beyond that, what message or information that Q is communicating to us, I will let you decide if you want to decode it on your own. But this is merely to prove that what we are seeing is contact confirmation of Q. Let us begin. The first drop from Q following the test strings posted where Q was indicating his connection to the 8-kun board was secure and safe was this post, 3573, with a link to a 2-minute and 55-second long video on YouTube posted by editor on May 27th, 2011. 5.5 is a term that has been associated a lot with certain Q posts, and using the search on qmap.pub to search for 5.5 brought me to this Q drop, number 3521, titled Devin Nunes, Corn Ready for to be Cut, where Q says farms produce ... and then a 5.5. So this post does refer back as well to post 3525. And continuing on to post 3574, where you see both Twitter links in the message Rig for Red, which has since been confirmed as being a reference to the command given on board a submarine at night to come to periscope depth. It is being said that this is an indicator that Q is surveying the surface and preparing to give us more information in the days to come, or possibly predicting some events on the horizon. Now here's where my initial breadcrumb trail began. And starting backward from Q3574 and using the timestamp of 7:25:13, which translates in military time to 19:25:13, the first step I took was to check Q post 1925 to see what clues might be on that post. And as you can see, the title for 1925 is Timeline for U.S. Military Parade Has Changed, with the time and military being in the title, as well as a link to a screenshot of a tweet from AP regarding the Pentagon's military parade delayed until Veterans Day of 2019, which coincidentally is exactly 1 week from the date I'm making this video. In the title of this Q drop, though, military and time stands out to me, possibly indicating a reminder to use military time, along with the message timelines change at the bottom from Q. So I'm not sure if Q is saying that the timelines for events have changed, but definitely it's a possibility given how drawn out everything has seemed to be lately. And then after looking through post 1925, my next step was to use the minute and second timestamps from the full post to check what Q posts correspond to those numbers via the Q clock. And in case you haven't seen the Q clock, this is a picture of it here. The bands going around it are all the dates, beginning with the dates around the inner circle that start with the earliest Q posts and expands ever outward from there. Every colored circle indicates a day that Q posted. So as we can see when we zoom in on 25, which is the minute, the minute timestamp from the previous post, one of the earliest posts Q made was actually on 11/02, which at that time would have been 2017. Which I instantly recognized as being exactly 2 years from the date that Q returned this very week. So then you can see here on this from this timestamp with the corresponding post on 11/2 of 2017 was drop 45, and 45 of course is Donald Trump's number as POTUS. I also noted on Q drop 45 that the timestamp of the seconds is 31, which is a mirror of 13 from our original 1925-13 timestamp. Q is often said in drops to think mirror. So after noting the mirror of the 13 seconds, I then used Q clock to check what posts lined up with 13, of which there are 3. and using the Q map search box to search for dates that line up with the 13 on the Q clock. The first of those dates is 2/18, which would be 2018, and it takes us to a page showing drop 791 through 796 on February 18th, the most obvious of which is the large U.S. flag on the upper left corner. This corresponds with Q's first drop recently in the video of the flag waving, and the messages of each of those posts from that date, at least at the top part of the page, indicate to me at least a message to QAnons. And each one of those messages reads, the first one with the flag reads "For God and Country," and then 795 reads also "For God and Country." 794, and of course I'm reading backwards here, "Clean action approved, highest authority." 793 says "Go with God, the clock is activated." 792 reads "Received, confirmed, good." And then 791 is actually a Bible quote that says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Protect 6-14 through 46, and that's said twice, and then it says Q+, which of course we know Q+ is POTUS. So, from there, we go back into the Q clock. And the next post from the 13 is 4/19, which would indicate April 19th, also of 2018. We go into the QMap.pub page. The search box for that date gives us post 1198, which says Q&A confirmed, time limited, Q&A again, time limited, keep up the good fight. And 1197 from also April 19th, 2018, yes, midterms are safe, watch California. And of course we know there's been a lot of fires and things, just really terrible things going on lately in California, especially regarding the power outages and whatnot lately. And we are indeed coming up on midterm elections. The next post that I saw, corresponding to that date of April 19th of 2018, was post 1191, "What makes a good movie? Good actors." And then Q at the bottom had commented, "What makes a good movie?" Well, we do know recently with the recent killing of al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS, this post here with the terms, what makes a good movie? Well, we know President Trump had said in his statement that it was like watching a movie. Well, the future proofs past on this one's kind of obvious, at least to me. But also from that April 19th post, we also see, or at least from that search on QMap, the next thing I see on here says, "Future events, Intel trip to North Korea will make heads roll." And the reason why this stood out to me was because in this post, these posts that are linked together, Q says 13-minute mark, which, like I said, we're looking at the 13th second on the Q clock. So the fact that he mentions 13-minute mark, you see that 13 there, but you also do see in this post for Nancy Pelosi Intel trip to North Korea video in post 1185, you see that 31-second mark, which is a mirror of 13 seconds. So you've also got the mirror there once again. So next post on that 13-second string here, we've got from the 218 to 419, the next post rather in this sequence of dates on the Q clock takes us to June 18th of 2018, Q Post 1549, which is titled Amanda Renteria Dig. And the body of the text that Q says, Autis catch the exchange regarding POTUS private calls with Kim, new number via iPhone. How did that particular senator know what kind of highly classified intel? So I feel as though that's probably a reference back to the post that I spoke about earlier, posts 1186 and 1185 that are linked together, where Q talks about Nancy Pelosi's trip to North Korea that she revealed in a press conference, and it said big error as well. So I believe he's highlighting that that post to get us to dig into that. And then one last thing that I noticed. So when I first did this, I accidentally screwed up one of the dates on the 13-second line for 4/19, but it actually worked out. I had the year wrong originally. I had entered 4/19/2019, which would be this year instead of 2018. However, I did find an interesting post that does actually match up with what we're looking at here, and I don't know if that's deliberate or not. I think it might be, especially considering the body of the text and what it talks about. But from 4/19, April 19th of 2019, is post 3316, and very clearly we can see in the body of the text the word rig. And of course this goes all the way back to our most recent Q drop, which was 3574, rig for red. But what this says is, was the investigation kept on going as a talking point to rig the midterm elections? And of course we had the other posts in this string that talked about the midterm elections, and of course rig for red, and here we see rig. So to me that's confirmation that, you know, the information that we're receiving via the new 8kun is legitimately Q. Only Q, in my opinion, has been able to piece together these segments into almost a cohesive story even. And if you're interested, you can duplicate this just by looking at all of the Q posts, checking the dates and timestamps in particular, and then using the Q map and the Q clock to verify all of these. And I highly encourage people to do this, just as a thought experiment even. It's very, I find it highly interesting, and I really think that you gain a lot of insight and understanding into things that are going on, and how a lot of the events that have transpired have been proven, and a lot of the things that Q has told us about have been proven through events, and he frequently does say future proofs past. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe to my channel. I hope to be able to produce a few more videos soon. Again, I'm not a professional here, so I'm just getting started. And if you've taken the time to watch it this far, let me just say I appreciate it, and I hope to see you back again soon. This is Dementra from Ain't I Right, at Dementra1 on Twitter, and Equality is a False God, at Equality God on Twitter as well. Have a great day. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.